Hi, I'm Maniec, and this week we are going to explore the hidden gems of Italy. What I mean by that is there are grapes that you've heard of, like Pinot Grigio or even maybe Sangiovese. We've had these in packs before. These are, more of the common grapes of Italy. And this week I thought it would be the best idea to just introduce those of you to these grapes that maybe you haven't heard of. One of the reasons I love Italy is there are over 1,400 grapes in this big, beautiful country. And technically, Italy is about 20 different sub-regions or autonomous regions that make up Italy, which was unified in the 1870s. But what you might not know and what might be a little intimidating is, how do I go into a restaurant or a wine shop and not spend a ton of money, but find new and exciting things? And that's exactly what the weekly tasting is about. It is my job to look through all of these amazing wines and just put together packs that I think are exciting for a unique reason. And so this week we are trying two whites, and they couldn't be more opposite. The first white is from the northern hills of the Colli Orientali, which is northeast Italy, and the region is called Friuli. And Friuli lends its name to the grape Tokai Friuliano. So this is a refreshing white wine that's unoaked from a northern place, very, very similar to Pinot Grigio, maybe a little bit more exotic and perfect for prosciutto di San Daniele. The second white is as far away from this region as you can possibly get. It is from Sicily, and I traveled there in October with a group of people from Cork Buzz, and it was fantastic. This grape called Grillo is a little bit more exotic and more pineapple and richer in texture, but certainly another white wine that is refreshing for summer. And then I thought, Italy has two coastlines, and it would be really fun to introduce you to the Adriatic side. There's a region called the Marche, and I love the Marche. It has seafood and raw fish, but also is really known for a grape called Montepulciano. And this Montepulciano is also blended with the noble Sangiovese and the Merlot grape, just rounding out a lighter, more savory style of red wine. Last but not least, we're going to Campania on the opposite coast on the Mediterranean side, not far from Naples. Actually, this wine is a grape called Aglianico, and a lot of people call this grape the Barolo of the South. I know you're gonna love these wines, and compare and contrast, cook a Sunday supper, make some eggplant parmesan, or serve some spaghetti alla vongole, and you won't be disappointed. Our first white wine is a wine from, as I mentioned before, the northern eastern part of Italy. And this area is called Friuli, also Colli Orientale. So if you imagine you're in the northeast corner, it's relatively cool there. This area is especially good for white wines. And there are some local grapes. In this case, the local grape is a grape called Friuliano. It used to be called Tokai Friuliano, but just don't worry about that. Essentially, Friuliano is the name of a town, and it's also the name of the grape. So in this case, we have 50% Friuliano grape, and it's very customary in that area to blend basically a local grape like Friuliano with some international grapes. In this case, we have Pinot Blanc, which is in that area called Pinot Bianco, and Sauvignon Blanc. So you imagine Cantarutti, this really historic, beautiful old winery that was founded in the 1800s, is making this unoaked white wine from a local grape and two international grapes. So I find this pale straw really kind of lemon color. On the nose, it smells really good. A lot of people compare the Tokai grape to Pinot Grigio in the sense that it's got melon and cantaloupe, and it's really just kind of light and refreshing. Pinot Bianco or Pinot Blanc is sort of like Chardonnay in that it has a little bit more mouthfeel and more texture. And then finally, the Sauvignon Blanc grape is, as you know, that herbaceous, citrus, grapefruit. So what I love about this area and this wine in particular is that what one grape lacks, the other grape makes up for. So if you have something a little bit more simple like Friuliano and something very pungent like Sauvignon Blanc, the combination really lends itself to this really perfect, well-balanced white wine. I'm ready to have some prosciutto, perhaps a little bit of melon, and a glass of this. Or you can even make like scungili, like a seafood salad, and you won't be disappointed. Our second white wine is Baron de Serramarrocco, sorry, and it is a wine from Sicily. And the Grillo grape is the grape of choice in this wine. And I couldn't be more excited about Sicily. I think as far as the Italian wine regions go, Sicily is definitely the rising star, or the wine producing region to watch. Especially with this grape, the grape Grillo. You know, you often find yourself sitting in Sicily in a cafe, outdoors, especially when you're in the Catania fishing village, and you just find yourself craving and wanting all the fresh seafood and the local wine. So, if you will, Grillo was a grape that was mostly known and famous for its production of Marsala. And Marsala was perhaps what put Sicily on the map and introduced people to this island as far as wine growing went. But Marsala is definitely a dessert style, can be used for cooking, but this wine couldn't be further from the dessert style. Grillo, pineapple, kind of an exotic Asian pear, maybe a little bit of like a tropical note, perhaps, you know, almost like a Sicilian orange. Oh, and the finish has a little bit of salinity. And often I find when you have wine producing regions that are by a body of water, near the ocean, in the Mediterranean Sea, you really get this almost like salty ocean air, and that's couldn't be more true in this wine. I'm thinking about making a little bit of linguine alla vongole. So basically I'm taking some clams, reserving some of the clam juice, a little bit of garlic and olive oil, and just serving this Grillo tonight for dinner. And I hope you do the same. Wine number 3 is red wine. And I had to pick this wine. I mean, when I tasted it, I was like, this has to be in a pack, and we need to introduce people to this wine in this region. So the Maniec. Imagine we're sitting again in a little cafe on the Adriatic side of Italy. We are in a region called the Maniec, and more specifically this wine, it comes from a region called Rosso, Piceno. So anytime you see this region, Rosso Piceno, you should know that you're located in the Maniec on the Adriatic side. And if you drew a line from Tuscany all the way to the opposite coast, that would be the Maniec. At any rate, this is a wine from the Montepulciano grape, which is the majority of the grapes. And then there's another bit of Sangiovese, and then finally Merlot. So Montepulciano is a late ripening grape, and it's not often grown in the north, but you find it in the Maniec and then a little bit further south in a region called Abruzzo, which is probably what you have heard of, Montepulciano di Abruzzo. So this is the perfect time to talk about Italian wine. Just a mini lesson. Italians label their wines in 3 different ways. In the case of Pinot Grigio, they label by the grape. Often you will see Pinot Grigio on a label, and that's very American style of labeling grape by the wine rather by the grape. You'll also see in Italy the name of the grape and the name of the town, which is often something like Nebbiolo d'Alba. So grape first of the town of Alba. And you can see that same thing in Moscato d'Asti. So whatever comes before the D or the DI is the name of the grape, and followed by the name of the region. Then in the case of this, you don't see the grape at all on a label, you just see the region, which is called Rosso Piceno. It's followed by the name Denominazione di Origine Controllata, which basically just means a specific region of controlled origin. So let's get to this wine. You know, it's about medium body, and it has a medium kind of garnet color. The fruit is not tart, which doesn't give you that acidic thing, but it's super perfectly ripe. So not even overripe at all. Just red fruit, like red cherries, red plums, black plums. Has a slightly savory aroma, almost like the beautiful tomato leaf when you smell tomatoes when they're really fully bloomed. And some savory herbs. And I love this wine with any kind of game meat, with any pork, with any duck. anything that you would serve Pinot Noir with, especially when a Pinot Noir might be a little bit more old world, like French in style. And this is a great alternative for people that like Pinot Noir but maybe want something a little bit bigger. Our fourth and final wine is definitely not last in terms of quality. It is one of my favorites in this pack, although it's really hard to say because they're all really great. So we have a wine called Vinosia, which is from Luciano Ercolino, and this is a grape which is called Aglianico. And so Aglianico, how do you explain it? You know, a lot of my friends say Aglianico is one of the hidden gems of Italy, of course, and something that you have to try. Aglianico can be found in regions like Terrace, which is the name of a region, so you might see that on a wine list or on a bottle. And Aglianico can be found also in this area, which is called Irpina. And essentially it grows right around Naples in an area called Campania. I think of Aglianico like the Barolo of the south. So you know the region of Barolo is in the northwest part in an area called Piedmont. It's not the same grape. Barolo is made from Nebbiolo. However, Barolo is known to be tannic and have a very long life. You can age Barolo for a very extended period of time, 20 years, something like that. But it's often tart and cherry and reflects that of the northern climates of Italy. Whereas Aglianico has that same tannin, really rustic, almost tar and leather and spice, only the fruit is not sour and red like it is in the north. And here it's more big and jammy and black plum. So I like to think of introducing people to new things, as is the case with the weekly tasting, and especially to say, okay, you like Barolo, you want something a little bit fuller bodied, you need to try Aglianico, and more specifically Vinosia. Let's give it a try. Yeah, it's all about like dusty, kind of silty texture, and you really get that tannic kind of bite. And the area is also known for a couple of cheeses and soppressata and things like that. So if you're planning a dinner party, you're having a bunch of people over, put out some caciocavallo, which is a local cheese, and some soppressata, and serve it with this wine. I hope you enjoyed the hidden gems of Italy and exploring Italy with me. Again, I just want to thank you, the viewer, you, the consumer, for allowing me to be your guide, to pick wines for you. It really does feel, for me, like I'm your personal sommelier, that I get to be the first one to introduce you to Friuliano or Aglianico, or just the areas, and I feel like we're learning together. So please tag me on your Instagram photos, let me know what you're cooking. If you need that recipe for spaghetti alla vongole or anything at all, I'm at Laura Maniec at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I'd love to hear from you, as would the weekly tasting. Thanks again.